my fellow comic book collectors, it's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is the Wednesday video where I answer your questions. Each week, people ask me a bunch of questions, and I do my best to try to answer them. This week, I got a lot of questions, and I have a ton of books to show. It should be a pretty great show, actually. Probably one of my better ones because of the amount of cool things I have to show. So let's get right into it. These are the questions from last week that people put in the comments, and let's get into them. Mark La Puma wrote, "My question this week, do you ever do trades in your collection? If so, what was one of the more remarkable trades that you have done?" There was actually a pretty good trade that I did where, let me just see if I got the books here, where I was picking up from a collector that had like sort of more of the older style books. He's a collector that really likes the like the historical books. He liked Brownies and early Disney stuff. So I picked up a few things from him that I thought were pretty cool, and I traded more modern stuff. So it was stuff that was lower value on my end, and it was just it was a fair trade. We did it where we looked at the values of the stuff that I had and the values of stuff that he had, and we did a fairly fair trade. I also traded him some cherry Pop-Tarts that I had extras of and stuff like that. So it was a fair trade, and but I'll show you a couple of the books that I got from him, and these are more, as I said, the older style books. So we got Mickey Mouse magazine, and this is from 1939. It is actually the first cover appearance of Pinocchio. And the book that came out before this was actually Pinocchio's first appearance, which actually happened before the movie. So this is quite an interesting one. So this is Mickey Mouse magazine from 1939, volume 5, number 3. So I got that one from him. And I also got a cool Mickey Mouse with a rifle. This one wasn't expensive. I just thought it was a cool cover. But it's cool to see Mickey with a rifle. You know, nowadays we think of Disney as being very politically correct and also very probably anti-gun. So to see Mickey Mouse with a gun is quite interesting. So yeah, this is Mickey Mouse magazine from 1939. Volume 4, number 9. So these are a couple of the trades. There was a bunch of books actually I got from him, but those are some that I had readily available. Okay, and it was a good trade. As I said, overall, it worked out for both of us. I actually did a video on it. If you check back on my, I don't know where it is, but if you check back in my previous posted videos, I actually posted the video of the trade. Next question comes from Comic Book Ninja. Do you have any signed copies or magazines? If so, what are your top 5? Better yet, show them all. Well, I'm not going to show them all, but I'm going to show you a big percentage of my signed comics. I actually have a ton of signed comics. I like the graded ones where it's got the yellow label. I just think it's cool to have that. I'm going to show you some of my favorites. It's a pretty big collection, all these ones. So I'll go through it. So the first one is 7 to Eternity, number 1, in a 9/8 white pager, signed by Jerome Opena, and so I believe he's the artist that did the cover. Very cool cover. And to get a signed comic in a 9/8 is always cool. So I kind of like that one. And this next one's actually quite interesting. I really like this one. Next one, if I can get it out. Okay, it was just taped really solidly. So this one is interesting because it's Critters number 1. And it's signed by Stan Sakai. Sakai. Yeah. And he actually did a remark as well on it. The interesting thing about this book, and its early appearance of Usagi Yojimbo, and the cool thing about it is CGC put the wrong label on it. They put it as Critters 3, which is interesting. They made that mistake. So it's an error from CGC, but it is Critters #1. But it's funny that they got the wrong label up here. The weird thing is, though, on the top label, they have it correct. So I don't know why they made the mistake here, but yeah, it's just really strange. So I thought that was kind of interesting one from CGC mistake. Okay. This next one I really like because it's signed by the two Pennies. What's their names? Wendy and Richard Penny. And so it's a double signed book. You can see their signatures right there. And this is Fantasy Quarterly, which is actually the first appearance of ElfQuest. So not only is it the first appearance of ElfQuest, which is pretty cool, but it's also the first, well, it's signed by the creators. So yeah, so I really like that one. And then we got another one that I thought was really cool. One sec here. Like, tape on these is brutal. Okay. I don't know why they're so well taped. Okay. This is Crow #3. And I was a big fan of The Crow. I thought it was a cool movie. And it's actually a very cool comic. This is actually signed by James O'Barr. You can see his signature up at the top. And this is a CBCS signature label. So, but I thought it was really cool to get his signature. So yeah, so. And then we got another CBCS one. This one's interesting because CBCS had the yellow labels, but they also had these kind of, I don't know what color that is, but pinkish red labels. This is another signed one. This is Stabbity Bunny, and it's signed Richard Rivera. You can see his signature there. And it's really good placement for a signature, actually. So Stabbity Bunny. So I got it for the cost of the slab, actually. I got it really cheap. I won it on in an auction. Basically, I got it for opening bid, which was kind of fun. This next one is one of my few green label signature books, but it's green label because of the signatures. And this is Marvel Age 134, which is the first appearance of Beavis and Butthead, but it's signed by all the creators involved. So it's signed by 3 names written on the cover, and I'm not sure who the names are, but you got Kate something, and I can't read the names, so their signatures are pretty hard to read, but yeah, but it's signed by the creators, which is kind of cool. So you guys can tell me in the comments below who those creators are and embarrass me. Okay, the next one is another signed book, but this one's a little interesting because it's signed on the inside. So it denotes it as being signed, but it is signed on the inside. So this is Fantastic Four #2, and it's signed by Stan Lee on the first page. So it actually says that verified signature Stan Lee on first page. So kind of a cool book. Fantastic Four #2. Kind of a major book. And then we got another one. This one's actually one that I got because one of my viewers sold it to me. This is Captain Britain #1, and it's signed by what's his name? Chris Claremont, right? Yeah, Chris Claremont. Okay, and it's kind of a cool book, and it has the free toy inside as well. So that's makes it extra special because generally to find these ones with the toy is quite hard, and usually they're pretty beat up too. So this is quite nice grade one as well. So you got a free toy inside, and you got Chris Claremont signature, which is fun. Okay. And 2 more I'm going to show. And they're both, the last 2 are both signed by the same artist. And these are Golden Age books. Ken Bald actually lived quite long. And he was actually the oldest cover artist ever. Oldest artist to do a cover. And this is Cindy number 30. And it's signed by Ken Bald. And it was witnessed on in 2018. So Ken Bald's signature. So that's Cindy. Really nice Good Girl art cover. And then we got possibly my favorite signed book. Definitely my favorite signed book. And it is another Ken Bald, and it's Sun Girl number 1. I like it because it's just too cool to have Sun Girl number 1, and also really good signature placement on this one as well. So Sun Girl number 1, signed by Ken Bald. Just a really great book. And in a 4.0, which is quite nice. Okay, so those are some of my signed books. I have probably another 20 or 30 signed books that are graded, actually, even. Yeah, I have a bunch. A lot of them are more adult, actually, because I have a bunch of zombie tramps that are signed by Dan Mendoza. So, and they're more risque versions, but signed. The next question comes from Jerry Wilson. And he asked, do you have any Hap Hazard comics? So last week, one of the questions was, what comics are you currently looking for and never able to find, even any copies? And one of the ones was Hap Hazard number 14, which is a book I really like to get. It's still on my want list. I still haven't been able to find it. So I guess that question kind of comes from that. But the reason I want Hap Hazard number 14 is it's actually the very first cover artwork by Al Feldstein, who is one of the artists that I really like from the Golden Age. And I like his work mainly because of the Good Girl art comics that he does, Good Girl art covers that he did. However, I also found another early work by Al Feldstein cover, and this is not Hap Hazard, but it's kind of related. It's The Adventures of Homer Chubb, or Cobb. And it's just, you can see the style of Al Feldstein. Beautiful Good Girl art. Now, to show you my Hap Hazard, I actually do have one Hap Hazard. And it's another Good Girl art cover. It's the same girl, I think. Got Hap Hazard. And, you know, he's driving his car, and gets a flat tire. His car is just falling apart. Very Archie-like. And she steps out and steps right into a manhole. So she says, now the tire's flat. I'm getting out. I'm getting out of here before something else happens. So I think something else will happen. So just a really cool one. This is not Al Feldstein, but this is the issue before Al Feldstein. So this is Hap Hazard number 13. So just a cool one. It does have Al Feldstein art interior, but it doesn't have his first cover, which is what I was really looking for. So those are my Hap Hazard. Very, very small collection of Hap Hazard. I'm actually trying to get a few others because I do think it's an interesting series. Next question comes from Comic Mag Musings. Alan, my question involves the first issue of Warren's Eerie. Can you tell the difference between a first and second print? Perhaps more importantly, can you identify a forgery from a reprint from the legitimate first and second printing? It's actually quite hard to, if they photocopy it, it might be a little hard to tell like a forgery, because, you know, they have pretty impressive photocopiers now that can do a pretty good job of forging a comic. There have been issues with not just like Warren's Eerie on that, but other comics where people have forged them because there's value there. Warren's Eerie #1 has had records of like over $1,000, so there's a bit of a reason to photocopy them and try to sell them and make money. Now I have actually a mint copy. My copy's really, really pretty. So, and this is, if you're going to look at first versus second printing, this is a first print. And the reason you can tell that is by just by the edges. You can see how it's like a sharp corner and sharp top. Now, when you look at the second printing, it's a little bit wavy. It doesn't have those crisp, sharp lines. They kind of printed it off pretty quick, and they didn't really do a good job of cutting them. So that's the first thing you can do to tell. The next thing you do is you look at page 18. And I will show you that. Okay. And you look, okay, at the 5th panel, which is this panel. See this black? In the second printing, this black isn't as black. And you can see a bald-headed guy in this area. With the first print, you can't really see the bald-headed guy. So that's why you can tell it's a first print just from that blackness. So those are the two easiest ways to identify a first print versus a second print. Forgeries, that's a whole different kettle of fish. They might do a good job. Other things that you can do, actually one other thing that you can do to identify a first print versus second is the second print had a weird blue stripe on the staples. So if the staples are clean like this, where there's just nothing on them, then it's a first print. That's another identifier. So those are the easiest ways to identify a first versus second. Forgeries, hard to say. You can maybe say, based on the age of the staples or the type of paper would be kind of ways to do it, but there would be issues. The other thing that would happen with the reprints, or ones where it's like a forgery, generally what they'll do is they'll do a forgery of the second print, because the panels are a little bit more clear. As I said, that bald man. So they might do that, and therefore you could identify it as being a forgery of a second print, which sounds weird, but that's what I expect. So hopefully that helps. So yeah, so that is actually the first issue of Eerie magazine, and it was they actually quickly printed it off in order to try to get the rights to the Eerie name. And there's only 200 that were ever printed. So it's quite rare, and it's almost impossible to find it in that high of grade. So that's my copy. I bought it from James Warren. And I think it was James Warren or Forrest Ackerman, actually. But it was through a second guy, another gentleman who kind of specializes in Warren publishing. So it was kind of a semi-direct line to getting that first print. Next question comes from Quasi Terrible. And do you have any tiny books in your collection, like those nickel comics from back in the day, or other books under the standard size comic books? Like, I don't have the little books, but I do have smaller books, if that makes sense. And I'll show you what I mean by that. I have 3 that I can show. One is the Mighty Midget comics. You can see this is a standardized slab, and then you got this little little comic. Now, there was 2 ways that these were sent out. One was sometimes they were adhered to issues of Captain Marvel, and they were just like a little comic book that you would get as a bonus comic book. And sometimes they were, I think they were I'm not sure if they were giveaways, or they were just published, printed like this, where they would be sold like that. So the point is, this was not the adhered one, because you can see this back. You can tell that it wasn't adhered to anything. But this is like the Mighty Midget Comics. And it's like Mighty Midget Comics number 11. It's a white pager, actually. And it's a Bullet Man and Bullet Girl cover. So yeah, so that's one of them. And it says that there was Bullet Man, Green Arrow, Spy Master, Ibis the Invincible, Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel Jr. were the different ones that were made of the Mighty Midget Comics. Okay, the next one that I have is Maisie, which it was a 5-center. And this is actually the first appearance of Maisie. And it's a relatively affordable book, actually. So this one is from 1950. And it's just a cute little... There you go. Cute little comic. And I like it because it's a good girl art comic. So, Maisie number 1. And then last, and probably my most valuable mini comic by far, is Pocket Comics. Now, these were actually 10 cents. You can see Pocket Comics 10. So they were 10 cents, but they were smaller. They were pocket size. A bit thicker. They had 100 pages, as you can see, but they were pocket sized and smaller than the standard comics. This is actually the first appearance of a bunch of characters. One of them is Black Cat, which is probably the most famous of the characters from this one. The Black Cat was a very popular character in the Golden Age. But you also have the Spirit of 76. I forgot who else. Spirit of 76, Red Blazer, I think, as well. And British Agent 99. All made their appearances in this book. So mine's a little bit beat up, but still a nice copy. Yeah, relatively nice copy. So those are my mini comics. I hope you enjoyed those. Next question comes from M. LeBlanc. Thanks again. Another question. Can you recommend an app for keeping track of your collection? I personally use Excel on my home computer, but I'd like to have information on my phone when I'm on the go. Thanks. Okay, so a couple things in there. I use an Excel document where I basically, whenever I buy something from auction house, I kind of download all the auction records into an Excel. That's sort of keeps track of how much I paid, when I bought them, all that kind of stuff. So that's one method that I actually use as well. And I also have like a separate file, which is just like a text document with my want list. And what I'll do, and it's like the lamest thing, but what I'll do is actually I'll email myself the updated list whenever I update it. So if I go to a convention, I'll email myself, and then I'll use that want list when I'm looking at conventions or whatever, because it's in like just a text file. I can just look through it as I'm going out in the wild searching for comics. Now, that's my lame method. The better method that I have as well is I use a site called Cover Price and their app. Also, I use Go Collect to both of those to track my collection and have it. I've so far maybe put in about 1,000 books from my collection into their database. I really have to do more. I just haven't gotten around to it. Every so often I kind of push myself and I do like a few books, but I'm just way behind in terms of updating the app. But Cover Price is a good one. I believe they also have a thing where you can scan the barcodes and instantly upload the books that you have in your collection. That works really well if you have a lot of modern books. I have a lot of Golden Age, so it doesn't work well because there was no barcode before 1977 or 78. So yeah, so it doesn't make sense to have to do that for my books. But it is a good one. So Cover Price, you can try that one. Next question comes from Splurge. I have a question. 4-color 16 is considered the first Mickey Mouse in comics. what about Donald Duck? I never found a definitive answer. Now, the funny thing is he writes this, and then he writes the answer, which I think is funny. But I'll read his answer to his own question, and I'll actually show some books based on this. Okay, so he wrote, there's Four Color number 4, which is the first appearance in American Standard comic book, but that's a cover and book that are reprinted from reprinted comic strips. I think Four Color number 9 is the first original story devoted to Donald Duck. Then there are the appearances before that, the oversized comic of him, that yellow linen book cover book, which is, if you can see it right up there, that's the cover, the linen cover one. That's from like, I think 1933 or 35, somewhere around there. And then Mickey Mouse Weekly, which was his first original story. And then finally there's Mickey Mouse Adventures from 1931, which has a duck named Donald, but looks quite different, like a prototype. Now that last one is actually Donald Duck's first appearance. So, and I have that book. So that is this one. And on the back, you actually have Donald Duck. That's Donald Duck. He does look different, but it is Donald Duck. And I'll actually show you inside the book. Let's see. I don't believe that there's any stories with him in it. I could be wrong. I read this a while ago. I think it's just Minnie and Mickey. But let me just quickly check. Yeah, I didn't think he was inside. So yeah, I mean, there is this one other picture, which is got Donald Duck kind of like, let's see the two ducks there. So yeah, so this one is kind of the first appearance of Donald Duck, as I said, on the back. You can get him also in the inside. Potentially even a Daisy Duck, because there's two ducks. But that one is not really what most people go by. Most people really like to go with the first comic book sized appearance of the character, and that is Four Color number 4. That is the big key. If you're gonna say, oh, what is the big Donald Duck key where you get his first appearance? Well, it's Four Color number 4. That's what everyone goes for. So I would recommend, if you're trying to get Donald Duck's first appearance, that's the book. And then also get this one. And this one's in this kind of beaten up condition. I think I paid $50. So it's not expensive. You can get nicer copies, probably for a couple hundred. So yeah, so that's definitely a one to consider. A couple other important Donald Duck books, and I'm just going to quickly show a couple others, is this one. This is a Donald Duck, a Walt Disney comic books and stories, comics and stories, volume 1, number 3, and it's a great Donald Duck cover, but it's also the very first appearance of Huey, Dewey, and Louie, so kind of a nice key to get. And the other big one is Walt Disney Comics and Stories number 1, which also has a great Donald Duck cover. And it is the first appearance of Daisy Duck. She's actually called Donna Duck inside, so you can maybe say, hey, it's a prototype. But most people consider it the first appearance of Daisy Duck, even though she's called Donna Duck inside. And it looks exactly like Daisy, but they just refer to her as Donna. Okay, so those are the those are the other couple keys related to Donald Duck. I'm a big Donald Duck fan. He was my favorite. Him and Goofy were kind of my favorite Disney characters as a kid. Okay, Okay, so next question comes from Pocket Full of Comics. Wrote, my birthday is on Christmas Day. What are some of your favorite Christmas-related covers? I just love to start a Christmas genre collection. Okay, so I feel bad for you. I couldn't imagine having your birthday and Christmas on the same day. You're just going to get screwed in terms of presents. But, you know, I actually know a few people. Actually, I just learned a weird fact. Justin Trudeau, his birthday is on Christmas as well. So you share a birthday with Justin Trudeau. Lucky you. Okay, so I'm going to show a bunch of Christmas-related covers. I have a bunch here. I gotta grab them. Okay. And these ones are kind of fun. We got Del Giant. And this is just a great Bugs Bunny Christmas one. It's also a key. It's like a first Pepe Le Pew or something like that. So yeah. So we got Christmas Funnies. Or is it Speedy Gonzales? I always get them mixed up. And then we got, this one's one of my favorites. I just like it. Just kind of sexy. Archie cover. She's making a naughty list or maybe a want list. I'm not really sure. But she, you know, doing the Santa thing. And another great one is, this is Andrew Popeye. And you got the three girls, Veronica, Betty, and Sabrina. And they just look like they're doing some magic on the cover. And they, you know, I like the short skirts, the kind of Santa-like outfits. Really cute. Okay. And this one is one that I just recently picked up, but it is a great Christmas one. And it was one I wish I had. I wish I had this book earlier, because I wanted to use it against, in my comic battle where I was the Judo Man versus the Warmonger, my friend Steven. He was the Warmonger. We were basically, one of the questions that we had to find a good cover for was Nuclear Winter. And I thought this would be the best book. I knew about this book, I just didn't have a copy of it. So I ordered it too late. So it was Nuclear Winter Special, and it's just a really great Christmas cover, but with a bit of a nuclear twist. So you got Batman wearing a hazmat suit, you got Harley Quinn, you got Wonder Woman with Kanga on a stick. I mean, it's just like so crazy. Yeah, just a really great Christmas cover, just for fun. It's funny and silly. Yeah. Okay. And then we got another Archie. You got the, you know, Betty and Veronica with big candy canes. And, you know, I like these kind of ones. This is like a Dan Parent cover. Just another fun one. And then we got Holiday Parade with Uncle Scrooge. I like when Uncle Scrooge is either playing Scrooge, like the character Scrooge, from Charles Dickens, or he's pretending to be Santa. And I think it's kind of cute that he has his sack with a money symbol on it. It's a really cute one. You got all the Disney characters on it as well, which is fun. Next one is another cute Christmas cover. This is Walt Disney Comics and Stories, Volume 7, number 4. It's a Carl Barks cover. And it's just a great one because you got, you know, sort of like that Santa sled. And you got the reindeers, but it's Huey, Dewey, and Louie. It's just a fun one. I really like it. Actually, a really high grade copy of this too. So from 1947. And the next one is Donald Duck again. This is 4-color, 367. It's just a really great one. Christmas in Shacktown. And it's a great story as well. So kind of fun one. Train cover. You got Huey, Dewey, and Louie carrying the sack, and it looks like it weighs a ton. You got Donald Duck all happy. Yeah, it's just a fun one. Yeah. And then last one is Lone Ranger. And this is really just an interesting one because he's carrying the Christmas tree, and it's like you got a little bit of snow, and he's got a little bit of holly in his hat. It's just a really great looks like a classic Christmas cover. So this is the Lone Ranger. I forget what issue number it is, but yeah, Lone Ranger. Okay, so those are some of the Christmas covers. I hope you enjoyed. Next question comes from, can you go over the true first Popeye appearance? So I watched your video a while ago, but can't find it now. Thanks. And this comes from Chris G. So what happened was I was trying to find out what was the first appearance of Popeye in comics, or any time, like when he made his first appearance. His first comic book appearance is King Comics #1, which is actually used to be the #1 most expensive comic of all time, even more expensive than Action 1, way back in the day. If you look at the old Overstreet, they actually show it as being more valuable. It hasn't performed as well as Action 1. You can still pick it up relatively, comparatively to Action 1, pretty affordably. It's an expensive book, don't get me wrong, but it's not nearly as expensive as Action 1. So that's his first comic book appearance. But there was earlier appearances than that, because the character Popeye actually was created in 1929. And so what happened was I was trying to find what would be the first appearance. So the King Size Comics, I believe, is 1936. So that's much later. That's 7 years. So a lot can happen in 7 years. So where was his earlier appearance to that? Well, one of the books that was always recommended was, let's see if I can point to it. I don't know if I can point to it. Okay, I can't really point to it. I'm going to do it this way. Was that one right there? Popeye Cartoon Book. Now, that was one that was cited on many sites as being the first appearance of Popeye. I believe that's from 1933, I believe. Okay, so that's 1933. The one next to it, right up there, is slightly earlier, or maybe slightly after. It's like kind of close. So that's January, like the Popeye coloring book cartoon book is from 1933 January. The next one is like a scrapbook. It just is like it is like a scrapbook. It just has a cover, and then the inside is all blank pages where you would actually take the comic strips and then paste them inside. So that's that one. That's from 33 as well. And then I have a little one. Do I have it handy? One sec. Oh. And then there's a little one, this one, which is from 1933 as well. And it's just like a little comic book that you get in a, like sort of like a cereal box or something like that. It's like a little comic strip. And that is also 33. But was there anything earlier than that? And I had to do some searching. And the one that I found to be the first true appearance of Popeye, until somebody tells me different, was this one. Thimble Theater #1. And this is the first appearance of Popeye in book format, like a comic book. This is from 1931. So it's the earliest one that I can find. And yeah, so I was quite excited to get this one. So this is the first appearance of Popeye in comics. So hopefully that kind of answers your question. I hope you enjoyed that. Next question comes from Lord Reptilius, which is actually Matt. Do you think anthology books where characters debut like Showcase or Brave and the Bold should come back? And yes. Actually, one of the things that I like in comic collecting is when characters make their first appearance in random books and they become a cool character later on. And you got to kind of do a little bit of that hunting for that first appearance, just like I was talking about with Popeye. One of the cool things about those anthology books like Showcase, Brave and the Bold, was the fact that you would have many first appearances and like sort of like them doing these test appearances of new characters. I kind of like that. I think that would be a really cool thing to bring back. Marvel also had Marvel Presents and Marvel Premiere, which did similar things for Marvel. So I'd really like to see that come back. I believe, what was the title? What's the one that just, there's a new one that just did this. I think it was either Image or Scout or one of those ones. They actually had their own version of it, where they did a new character called Redcoat, and he actually appeared in Geiger. I believe Geiger is Bad Idea, actually. I could be mistaken. Or is it Image or Bad Idea? One of those two. It's modern. I'm not as up on the modern stuff, but he actually appeared in Geiger Annual. And so Redcoat made an appearance in this kind of like annual book, which is not quite the same, but my point is, it's like the idea is similar, where they showcased a new character in like sort of an annual book. I would kind of like to see more of the anthology books come back, where they do showcase new characters. I think Marvel and DC should kind of do that again. Right now, comics are a little bit odd that way, where they really want to have that first appearance being in the comic series. So if it's a Batman character, well, it has to be in a Batman title that the new character makes their appearance. If it's a Spider-Man character, it's in the Spider-Man title. And they do that because they know that people collect those first appearances, and they try to make it as a way of getting new readers into those comics. When the market is a little bit more stable and there's more interest in the hobby, probably showcase style books would work, because what you could do is just showcase new characters and people would buy it just because it's all new characters. But usually what they try to do nowadays is really just promote their existing titles, because they're trying to get any readership. Yeah, so I would like to see them come back, but that's my opinion on that. The next one comes from KMun. Last question. Since you are organizing your comic collection recently, have you found any books you forgot you owned? Out of curiosity, which Spider-Man do you prefer? Thanks again, as always. My favorite Spider-Man is Peter Parker. And I liked the original, if you go movies-wise, I like the original Tobey Maguire series for Spider-Man. So I hope that answers both of those kind of questions of that. Now, I did find a bunch of books that I didn't realize I had. I actually almost bought one of these, which would have been bad if I had bought it again, because it's an expensive book. So I'm going to show you some of the books that I found that I didn't realize I had. And some of them are quite expensive. So we got Showgirls. And this is Showgirls number, I forget what number it is. I think it's like number 2 or 3. So we got Showgirls. It's kind of a nice one. I believe it's Dan DeCarlo art. And then we got a really interesting one that I didn't realize, I forgot that I had this. It's Sherry the Showgirl, number 6. And this one just had a really major sale recently. So I was quite happy to find this in my collection. I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. So Sherry the Showgirl, another Dan DeCarlo cover. Actually, it's Al Hartley. Sorry, Al Hartley. So yeah, Sherry the Showgirl. And then I found some really cool L.B. Cole comics that I forgot that I had this issue. I wasn't sure if I had this one or not, so I was like, oh, okay, yes, I do have it. So this is Shocking Mystery Cases, number 55. It's just a really cool L.B. Cole cover. This is all blood. And, yeah, just a really interesting one. And then some other ones that are interesting, some Atlas ones. This is Marvel Tales, number 108. I just thought it was a really cool decapitation cover, or potentially decapitation. He's going to get guillotined. You got a nice good girl as well. And it says, "Relax, honey. This guillotine ain't been used in 2 centuries. It can't hurt anybody." You see this guy. It looks like he's gonna totally get killed. So yeah, so just a kind of a cool one. And then we got another. I like these decapitation covers. I found this one as well. Men's Adventures, number 25. Got a nice shrunken head in a boiling pot. The man who shrunk my head, or who shrinks my head. Yeah, so yeah, just a really cool one. And then last, it's another pre-code horror one. This is Suspense. I thought this was a really interesting cover. I'm not sure who did the art. I'm just trying to figure it out. But it's a really cool cover. I just thought it was really interesting. Suspense. Only 11 of these on the census. Somebody put a note on the back of it. So, quite rare. So that's it. So those are some of the odd ones that I found as I was kind of digging through my collection. I always find a few things that I was like, oh man, I own that? I totally forgot. So yeah, those are some of the books that were in my collection that I found as I was hunting through. There's actually a bunch that I'm still looking for that I know that I have, but I can't find. Yeah, so those are the books. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have a question that you would like to have answered, put it in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer it in a future, well, next week. So in next week. So yeah, so thanks again for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye for now.